behind. You have to give me a second here. See if I can get this up. We had technical issues. So I'm trying to sort those out. And see. Alright. So it's this one. And then it should be this. And how about that? And it should be this. And there we are. Okay. There we are. So I got it up finally. The mouse didn't work. The mouse would not work. I was in here pretty pissed off. Yeah. For whatever reason, the mouse just quit. It was kind of absolutely stupid quit. And so I seem to have it back up. And it's working. Hopefully it'll work. I'll just buy a new mouse this week because, yeah, whatever's going on with this is didn't make me happy. Great way to start the day, right? So there we go. Everybody's in waiting for me while I'm here throwing a tantrum because nothing. Time's a ticking. Okay. Well, that was wrong. Let's start without him. Wind up your watch. I was sitting here. I was banging the mouse. Hola. Howdy, everybody. And yeah, so, yeah, for whatever reason, the mouse was doing that thing where it was hiding behind the screen and was doing this and it was doing that. And it pretty much was just pissing me off. So, and then I just kept having more and more problems with it. So, probably a new mouse is in order. So, there you go. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing better now that this worked. So, because I was like, what do I do? Just go out and have a cigarette and, or, what do I do? Because, yeah, I could not. I got partially it up, but it takes the mouse to select everything. So, well, it's done and it's over there. Okay, I'm currently going to end up needing to drop out before this is over. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Before I go, has anyone heard from Rose McCracken? I think her name was. Was that the Irish girl? McCracken. Rose McCracken. Well, I think that was the Irish girl, wasn't it? Used to come in here and stuff. But, well, it wasn't technology. It's just, well, I guess technically it was, but just the mouse decided to just be a pain in the butt. So, like I said, it's an easy fix. I guess in the future, just buy a backup mouse and then have it sitting there, and if something happens, because I had 5-6 minutes, but I was sitting here just trying to find the mouse. So, oh well. It takes a bigger hammer. Yeah. Well, then we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in here. We've got arms. I've got arms. Let's together use those arms. Let's go. Time's a waste, and I don't even know what that means. All right, but yeah, I thought Rose McCracken was the Irish girl that used to come in here and I don't know what time it is in Ireland. It'd have to be about 7, 8 in the morning. I don't know. What time is it in Ireland compared to now? I don't even know. Anyhow, there we go. Dutch Hunter Rendezvous, November 6th, 7th, and 8th. Treasure Hunt of the Year Awards, March 15th. And then I do my lecture, I believe it's March 26th, 2 p.m. Superstition Mountain Museum. So, there's the schedule. So, battery in the mouse week. It doesn't matter anymore. We are through talking about the mouse. You need mice, not mouse. We're done Well, if I did this on a laptop, I would have had a touchpad. Anyhow, we don't care about the mouse anymore. I will go down, buy 2 mice, and rotate that out and do what it is. What is your lecture on? It is about the documented Jacob Waltz. So it'll be about a little bit of what you've heard me talk about before, but it'll be about Jacob Waltz. So it won't be the Lost Dutchman Mine per se. It'll be more on Jacob Waltz, history, what we basically know. Not, it's not going to be the drunken run through town bragging about his gold, killing nephews in Mexican Jacob Waltz. It'll be about the one that actually lived. So we'll do that on the 26th. I wanted this year's to be on the Dawns of Arizona history, which I did at the Rendezvous 2 years ago. But they chose instead, they wanted me to do Jacob Waltz. So, and it's really the only Dutchman one that's documented, research backed. Everything else is kind of eh. So, but I did one on Lost Dutchman Mine documents, Jacob Waltz, similar to this, and then I did one on Adolf Ruth. So, and I prefer to do more of the academic side version. It's not going to be the storytelling. It'll be the stuff that we basically know, or we need to further research that we actually have something there. So, and it'll be interesting. So, a little bit of what I've talked in the last couple of the last videos will be in there. That song was Johnny Cash and June Carter, Mr. Wayne, Time's a Wastin'. Okay, Mr. Wayne. 47 years young today. Happy birthday. Drink to the Bobs. Please say hello. Well, I can't really drink, but I can sip because I have a Whataburger Dr. Pepper with a straw. So, the lecture will be good. But it'll be a lot of things you've heard me talk about. But it'll be chronologically in order. And then kind of talk. But it'll be the history from his basic time of birth, of what we basically think we know, and then it'll be through to his death, and it'll end when he dies. So, Jacob hangs out at the ice cream stand with all his friends. Basically, it goes way before that, but okay, that would be part of it. You're done with the mouse, stomp on it. Yeah. Well, I gotta have the mouse to end this, so I can't break it. It'd be funny if I took that literal and then didn't even think about it and then just took it and crushed it and was like, ha, and then I realized, oh crap, I'm screwed. So Larry said happy birthday and then retracted it. So Robert, he doesn't give a shit about you. All right, I'll make sure to bring you everything I find from the state archives. Well, that'll, it would have been cool if we would have had some of that, but it's not hinging on it, but you will be discussed. And so, because if by then you hadn't found anything or we hadn't stepped any further, we'll be talking about the two of you still researching. We got to give Lacey some credit. If she's just standing there and handing you a sandwich, All right. Did you put your Bowie knife on the desk for the weeks? No, I didn't even look for it. Actually, I did get busy in the garage. It's nice to see you again. Well, everybody can see me. But I went out there and I was starting to pull some gear and go through stuff. I probably would have found it. And there's tons of piles of papers where I have documents and materials and stuff, but they're not assigned folders or in file cabinets or in boxes. And there's stuff I needed to look for Larry and a couple other people, and I wanted to get to that. So I thought, well, first I'm just going to start with these piles. So I started in here, got a bunch of stuff together, took it out in the garage, and then I got about a pile like this of papers and got them into files. And then I got things kind of organized. Who was it called? I ended up talking to somebody on the phone then for an hour or so, so I had to stop. And then I went through some of the file cabinets because I know I got to get them organized because I can open up an extra drawer. And I wanted to get some of the Dutchman stuff, so I wanted to make a drawer of Arizona, a drawer of Dutchman, and then a drawer of Don's stuff, so I can have that stuff easy to access. Somebody's trying to call me. Why? But, so that being said and done, I did get to some of that stuff, but I didn't get to as much of it, and I can't remember why. And that was just, I think that was just yesterday I was going through everything. And then I talked to someone today, and I was like, oh, I got an hour or so before I got to go live, and they were talking about going out somewhere. And that got it in my head about, like, going out. And then I was like, oh, I got to go pull some of my gear together. So it was in the back of my head, and I know the area where I got to go pull some stuff out, and I didn't get to that point. So, but it's better that I get to the files. So, because if I get to the files, okay, I don't know. So that has to wait. All right. So let's see. I remember you saying the Dutchman said he saw finger-like spires or columns near his mind. Can you expand on that? I don't think I said finger-like spires. That doesn't sound like anything I would have said. In the clues, there was the Four Peaks as one, and there was a large peak nearby, which people took to mean possibly Weaver's Needle or three spires. But the spires, I think, comes from something else. I don't think I ever said something about spires. Where are you pulling your info for your on this day? Skits? Okay, there's skits. I thought they're shorts. But that comes from a number of sources. The primary source is this book. I can't reach it. It's The Chronology of the Superstition Mountains and Lost Dutchman Mine by Tom Collenborn. It's a big, thick book. And it was Tom taking and for all the newspaper stories. So I pull from that, which is the easiest source to kind of get a bunch for the month. And then the other source is Greg Davis's archives. He has all the newspaper articles from the 1870s, I think. It's 1870s. But he has all those. Well, I think there might be some from the 1860s. But he has all those newspaper articles, anything to do with the Lost Dutchman and the Superstitions. And he has them in basically photo albums, but they're in binders. And there's several shelves of them. And I'll go through those. And so that's the primary resource. Then there's stuff I just remember. Oddly enough, I'll say, oh, when did this happen or that happen? And then, or I'll read something and I'll just pencil it in. So I have each month written down. And then anytime I've run into something else interesting, I'll add it in for the next year. So it will always be changing. So there's stuff that I'll say, I don't need to say that one. Or something I'll say, oh, that one's kind of cool and all. So there you go. Do you think the face on the rock on the cave trail might be carved? The face on the rock on the cave trail it looks, I don't know, it's hard to say. So many people have been in there carving cactuses and rocks for so long. You have the Gato rocks, and then you have the Peralta rocks, and then you have the rocks that have been carved into faces. And I'm trying to think of the cactuses too. There's a lot of cactuses that were marked up. Most of the cactuses have died, not because they were carved, but just over time. Did you know the only desert in the world where there's saguaro cactuses is the Sonoran Desert, primarily Arizona? So you don't find saguaro cactuses anywhere else. They won't. For some reason, they just never have taken up any place else. I've got to learn to work off the keyboard with a mouse in a pinch. Hit tab. Okay, thanks. Okay. Your phone ringing sounds like between boxing. Well, it's on mute, and then it's sitting on the laptop over here. So It's just kind of, it's whatever for reason. Okay, we meant shorts. Okay, that's all right. Well, yeah, because I didn't think they were skits. The big one that looks like Thomas Jefferson. This dude makes Shane Gurrell. I don't even know what that means. He makes Shane Gurrell. There's more than one Shane Gurrell. He makes like more of them, which is pretty freaking scary. This dude makes Shane Gurrell. I'm sure there's something left off the end of that. Shane Gurrell, really nice guy in person. Really nice guy. I would say he's always very polite, always smile, in a really good mood, very friendly. That's what I'll say about Shane Gurrell. You're lucky that you have the more and climate in Arizona. What? Papers you have to, here in Florida, that kind of stuff will not last in the garage setting it along. Well, the reason it's in the garage is, well, look around my life. Everything else is taking up room too. It's showing some crazy pictures on Facebook and claiming they are carvings. That's Shane's life. The dude means Shane Gurrell. I kind of figured you were going somewhere like that. Are you talking about the devil face they saw on the show, the one Woody and Frank saw? No, not that one. Just pictures on Facebook. I don't. Oh, man. Sometimes the day goes long and then you go, it's right. Howard Hornick, at the Quarter Circle U, he was the caretaker. And Howard had his smartphone, and he would ride the fence lines, and he would take pictures. And Howie, if you ever watch this or whatever, man, dude, we miss you so much. You are an awesome dude. But Howard would take pictures of rocks and things and cactuses and anything he thought was a marking. And you wouldn't see him for 30 days, and then he'd have at least 500 more. He literally saw something in everything. And I would go out and just be so scared, like try to drive through and wave, because, oh man, and then I'd stop and then it'd be like, hey, tell me what you think of this. And he never got insulted, because a lot of times I'd be like, I don't know, man, Howard, don't you see that? No, I really don't. He never was upset about it, but man, he would show me an hour or two of pictures. Okay, Tom T. Who's Tom T? There's Tom Collenborn, there's Thomas Glover, and he won't let anybody comment. Well, it's because he made it all up. Hey, Dallas. Come on. Yes, that's a real picture of him holding like a 80-pound gold bar. Like I said, he's a super nice guy. If you meet him, it's disarming because he's always smiling. Even when you're telling him, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. That's absolute, just ridiculous. If you're just nice to him, he's very, very nice back. Tom searched everywhere. He enjoyed a number of places in the mountains. I wouldn't say there's one place I know that he went to all the time. I know he spent a lot of time in the LaBarge Box. I know he spent time in Trap Canyon. I know he spent time on Bluff Springs. I know he spent time at Peters Mesa. He just spent time everywhere. I don't know if there was a specific search area that he ever went. You can just follow that he just went everywhere. I know he really loved being out by Revis and Tony Cabin. So, and he just loved being in the mountains. So I don't think there was a specific real area. Okay. Okay, that was Robert, and then Tom K. Okay, thank you for confirmation. I appreciate it, Wade. He is nice. He wants you to donate money. Oh, well. He put me in a book. Politician, really nice your face as well. So, Goofball. Don't be mad at him. Okay, Shane put me in a book. I hope he's watching this. He put me in a book, and he was talking about the rendezvous. And I don't even know if that book, if you can even buy it anymore. None of it made sense. Now you get me choked up. I read it, and it was like a weird piece of fiction. Like did he really get everything that wrong? He had the rendezvous wrong. He had everything about everything wrong. Dutch hunting history, things about me. He got my name spelled right, I think. I think that was it. But it was just kind of... he really liked Haunted Canyon, too. He spent a lot of time down in Haunted Canyon. But that's Tony Ranch. But, yeah, with Shane, it's just like... I don't know where his head's at. I've sat there and listened to him plenty in person, and things he's told me, and he's always very nice, and he's a big boy, well over 6 feet, and probably well over 300 pounds, unless he's lost weight. But he's always got a big smile. He's always very nice. He's not confrontational or argumentative, and so I'll always give him that. But yeah, I have no idea what he's usually talking about and the stuff he makes up. And the fact that he has not learned to take a picture. It's like, see that? What's that? That's a javelina skin full of gold. It looks, I can't even tell what it is. It's just all blurry. Well, I'm not good with the phone taking pictures. It's like, dude, I'm not a photographer, but it's point, push the button. It's like, so, but yeah, he wrote that book. He wrote 2 books. And then he said something weird about if someone could find the one book that he wrote, a copy of it, then he'd give him money or something. It's like, you don't even know where your own book is. Can't remember what they were on. But yeah, the one, I read it, and I was so confused because I didn't know what he was even talking about. Even the stuff about me, it was like, he doesn't got anything straight, man. What's up? And he knew me well enough, so I was surprised. I'd have to find it sometime, and I don't know if that's... But yeah, some of the stuff he got wrong, like the rendezvous, he completely messed up, and things like that. And the TV show and stuff like that. Well, he didn't just love the mountains. He searched the mountains. He searched for the Lost Dutchman mine for many, many years. Him and Bob Corbin, him and Archie Johnson, him and Alan Blackman. There was a lot of people he searched with. Most of those people, I don't think many of them are around anymore. But yeah, Tom was out in the mountains with a lot of people. Not the people, you know, he did do some trips with Greg Davis, and he did do a few trips with Larry Hedrick. He did some with Dan Hopper and some people, but he spent quite a few trips by himself, and then there was other people, a few people I won't mention, because they don't like to be like, they don't need their name in lights, they don't want it. But it's hard to explain, but yeah, it's usually people nobody here's heard from. If you go to his Facebook page, you'll see a lot of pictures of a lot of the guys. They go out riding and doing stuff. So you're still out looking. I haven't really been outside of 2 trips this year. Spend one night alone in the middle of soups and you'll have more stories, believe me. That is one thing. Spending time in the mountains by yourself, it kind of like makes you see the mountains different. And Clay and I used to always talk about that. Can you imagine what the nuns might be after out there? Fresh air and sunshine. There's a lot of Jesuits, priests, Catholics, people like that go hiking. There's Mormon missionaries. There's a lot of people that just do that. It's got hiking trails. Got to remember that part too. Could you... when was Ted Cox around? Are you big on Ted Cox stuff? No. I don't remember when he was around. It was his dad and then Ted. Ron Feldman is huge on Ted Cox. He might be the only person really on Ted Cox. Jesse might be into a bunch of it too. I don't know of anybody else into Ted Cox. Tom Collenborn told me Ted Cox was full of it, and he said had a good imagination and was a little off, and that was, but I still read the stuff, and there was quite a bit of it available. I know Ron has a lot more of it, but I read it. It reminded me of a few other people that it was like almost like reading the journals of a serial killer. It was written this way and that way and this way, and it was like kind of like sometimes people talk things out to themselves or things, and he was writing things out, and it was almost revisionist history. And I just saw it as kind of a mess, and then I just couldn't get into it. It was just because I could see too many problems with it. And I don't know. I think he went out with people and searched with people, and then I don't know. There's a lot of people who want to be more than they are. I mean, I don't particularly think I'm like at the apex of anything, but there's a lot of people that like the attention, which would you think if they were out there searching quietly in the mountains, that wouldn't be the one thing they're really into. Okay, so his paraglider in the Grand Canyon. I don't think he paraglided I don't think he's ever paraglided in his life. What would you like to talk about, Wayne? Would you maybe want to give us a small piece of your lecture coming up? No, I'm not going to do that. You can come to the lecture, and we might film the lecture. I might take Tyler and film it. Yeah, because that's just something. We got a redaction. We never got any answer, Rose McCracken. I got a book today that reminded me of you in Arizona. I was cruising Goodwill and got a copy of General Crook in the Sierra Madre Adventure. Cool, because I had large copies of the maps. General Crook in the Sierra Madre Adventure. I don't have that one. I've not heard of that one. Tell us some stories, Robert Porch. He was invaded by demons in the night, then taken up to the stars. Happens. Well, what about 3:30 a.m.? You will see Apaches on the ridgeline, and sounds. Try it. It's good for the soul. It's not good for the soul because a lot of people get disturbed by the shit that the mountains do to their heads, and none of it's real. So, but the mountains are not for the weak. Is that a good quote? Maybe. So the mountains in the midnight. See, what I used to want to do, and I would do it, but I tell Randy, right, I'm heading into Garden Valley. And it's like, hey, there's either no moon or a new moon, or new moon or a full moon. And I said, let's go out and hang out in Garden Valley, because Garden Valley is a burial ground, basically. And, no way, dude. I'd be like, yeah, come on, man. We can do a seance. And, of course, Randy's a believer in those things. And he would be like, no. And I liked walking through those places, Nothing's gonna bother you. It's the desert. Any idea why the topo maps are better from the 60s? I don't know. That is a weird thing. You can find topo maps from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they are better than the ones of today. Those, I don't have one sitting here. Is this one? No, that ain't one. This was off of a good map. Someone cut this up, but there was an old white map. I don't know if you can see that good. Someone sent this to me. Gave me a phone number. I've never called. But this map was pretty good for a general overall map, but not detailed. And it shows the trail systems, which is good. But yeah, those old fold-out topos are rolled up, whichever one you do with them. I have both. The ones in my packs were all folded up, and then the ones that I marked and kept and saved are out there in tubes. But those maps are superior to even some of the new stuff they put out. And I don't know, that is a good question. Why do they make such crap? Because the other thing was the contrast, that they were on white paper. And what do they have? Like black. They have a little bit of green, and tan and stuff in them, but they're really easy to read and to be able to mark on and orient, and they're very, very accurate. And it's so weird that the ones today are. You had to do that quote, huh? I think those are Sasquatch, bro. There's no, why would there be Bigfoot in the mountains there? General Crook was a cool man. He was a friend to the Apache, and he was the best guy for Geronimo, but Geronimo jumps Turkey Creek. Running after Crook was ruthless to the Apache. Yeah, and then they had, what was his name? They sent after everybody. LiDAR maps. I don't, it's desert. What is LiDAR going to do? Peel away the dust? What is it? What is the guy? Mickey Free. Mickey Free is an interesting book. If you want to read a book, and there is a biography where he was the primary source, which is good, and there's a couple others, but Mickey Free is interesting because, one, he was the young boy that was abducted that started all the problems with Cochise. And then he becomes a scout, and then he becomes this relentless, ruthless scout for the army, chasing down a he was just one nasty piece of work, but interesting as hell, looking at his life and his career. And I think he gets forgotten a lot. The name is memorable, but yeah. Seen my first Gila monster. Never seen yellow. Heard the change of color gave good hiss, and snakes are out. Yeah, well, snakes have been out all year. It's just, you'll catch them here and there, so it just depends. It's weather in the area. There's areas you go in, you're always going to run into snakes, and there's areas you just never really run into them. It's odd, and it depends basically on what they can eat. I've been down washes and run into those areas where you find where the pack rats like to nest everywhere. And you get into one of those areas and you'll find rattlesnakes everywhere because there's lots of pack rats, and it's literally like a habitat. And then there's places I go up in the rocks and stuff, and there's nothing really. So, yeah, but you'll find them almost anywhere at any time of the year. So just because it's really cool out or it's really warm out or this or that, it's been January and 50 degrees out, and it's midday, and it was been freezing at night, and I'll find a rattlesnake. So, and then there's other times it's just perfect weather. The only time I saw them relentlessly was when we were filming. We were always filming going into the night, and because we had all those floodlights and stuff, we'd run into snakes left and right filming, because we were out there after sunset during the summer, and they're very active at night during the summer. So we were running into them everywhere. Worth the holes around. I don't even know what the Heart Mountain near Garden Valley. The Heart Mountain. What the Peraltas were mining when they got chased to massacre grounds. Well, there's different theories that they got chased to massacre grounds, and from where they were to massacre grounds. And I don't know what you're talking about. The Heart Mountain. Talking Black Mesa? Talking Hackberry Mesa? The Heart Mountain. Because I know the Heart Mountain was for Kenworthy was Black Mountain. That's usually when I think of Heart Mountain, because Chuck Kenworthy said it was the Heart Mountain. That would have been old Charlie Boy Mountain, Black Mountain, but that's down by Charlie Boy, so you can't be talking about that. I don't know. The Heart Mountain near Garden Valley. That's a new name for what I haven't heard. Gray Wolf Chief. Nathan, an Apache, would have said it, I think. And LiDAR shows the old trails you can't even see. You can see old trails. Animals use them. They keep them there. You can see the old trails. You can see them with photographs and stuff. Because, see, the desert's different than... See, nothing's degrading and covering stuff up except for dust and wind. And it'll always, rains and stuff will bring stuff out. There's areas, there's a couple spots up in northern Arizona where they made arrowheads and spearheads. and you go out after a rain and you see thousands of them. It just will keep clearing it up. There's just very little anything on top of it. So I've seen, I've used the LiDAR stuff in the mountains, but here's another thing: Google Maps in the 3D settings, Google Earth, and all that. None of the mountains look right. The only time the mountains look real to me is if I use aerial photography. If you have an old satellite or aerial photography, I'll look at stuff and say, okay, I know that spot and how you can get down there. But anytime you switch it or try to use anything the AI uses, it doesn't show you the mountains for real. I'd hate for someone to get hurt or lost or stranded in the mountains because of that stuff. But it's really, can't teach an old dog. Dude, I had the LiDAR. The software and the stuff I was using 10, 12 years ago isn't even as good as the stuff I see now. I was using stuff and then I realized it wasn't beneficial. I realized some of the best stuff is probably the early 2000s. Because they also redact stuff. So anything you find online is an image. It's not live. So what you have is they will actually overlay and cut stuff out. I showed people that before, where there's certain areas that Homeland Security's over, and you can find a vehicle that's parked in the same place for like 8 years because they don't want you seeing in that area necessarily. They get have one picture and then they just push it in there. I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah, the stuff I use, people are pretty crazy and see some of the stuff. I captured images and stuff, and I used it all through the mountains. It's how I found that refrigerator. I had to learn scale better because I thought I found a 12-pack of beer, and it turned out to be a refrigerator. But and that's very difficult from size. But no, if there's an old trail, you can read it from the air, and there's old trails in the mountains that haven't been maintained and haven't been used. People use them that know where they still are, but you can find those old trails out there, and if you have an older satellite image or aerial photography, you can find all those old trails. It's very easy because the contours don't change much. It takes forever. There is a stone line trail up on Coronado Mesa, and literally there's 4 or 5 foot tall trees have grown in the middle of the trail, and the trail's still there, and it's still visible to this day. And so it's it's knowing what you're looking for. And the thing is, you go and take that aerial reconnaissance stuff, and then you go out and you find stuff on the ground, and then you go back and look at it and you learn what you're really looking for, because your eyes can be deceiving. So someone just recently sent me some LiDAR stuff, and I went and looked at it, and I had to point out stuff that they missed because they were looking through the LiDAR, and the LiDAR, it was just solid rock, and I didn't understand what they were really trying to point out to me. It could have been you. But anyways, I pointed out to them there's an old mine shaft, and their LiDAR and stuff did not find anything that I found, and I found it from using other stuff. So there you go. I like that leather hat you got, Rick. Are you saying, I like the leather hat you got, Rick? Or are you saying, I got Rick a leather hat? I don't know what you're saying. If you go from the ranch towards Gardner, and the mountain on the right side looks like a heart. Okay, so that's you call it Heart Mountain. Okay, I don't think it has a name. What do you think the LDM is? A shaft? It's a shaft. It's a hole, and it's in an incline. Greg D. Who's Greg D? Says it's up on a mountain. Well, it is on a mountain. Oh, Greg Davis. It is on a mountain. It'd be up. It says it's in an arroyo off the top of a mountain. So you have to go up there and go into an arroyo, and it's supposed to be at a slant. Well, it doesn't do any good if I do that. It's supposed to be at an angle slant. So I found a couple really interesting places where people have dug in those types of situations. So there you go. Where you would say if you had cleared an area, the tailings would just go down the mountain. They'd wash out naturally, but it'd be easy to get rid of any tailings. What you're doing. Oh, yeah, but it's a shaft. It's not the hole in the side of a mouth. Charlie Kenworth, Chuck Kenworthy. You talk about a guy who saw stuff on the rocks. Kenworthy was one of them for sure. He was original OG, the whole thing. Yeah, I got a bunch of Kenworthy's books and stuff. Got letters, not to me, but letters that he wrote to people and stuff. I got a bunch of letters. You got to download Google Earth Pro. No, I'm not. I understand. And I've talked to people about it. And the people that understood and then saw what I was using were like, oh, crap. There are next generation stuff. And in work people do, they're using a next generation and really cool stuff. So it's kind of like I always told people is you're better off using aerial images because you can use different years. Because, God, what do freaking in Maricopa County, the aerial images, they have to go, and a lot of the old ones cover a lot of the superstitions, but they go back to the 30s or 20s, and then it gives you, even though they're really bad, going further back, you can't, the pixelation's terrible when you drill on them, but they would take them 2 or 3 times a year sometimes. So you're having multiple ones a year, and over 70, 80 years, you're able to look and compare the changes of things and all. Those are excellent for that. I still say that's one of the best resources. The Google Earth, Google Maps stuff is usually very flawed, and what it's capturing, it doesn't capture things, and it glitches all the time. Things don't look the same or aren't the same on the ground as they appear. So if you're using that and going out, you should be finding, wow, that doesn't look anything like that, what I thought it was going to look like. So I suggest that. The stuff I got drilled in, and it was meant to be able to look at something from 20 to 30 feet from the ground. It was very focused in. It was so you could pick up certain detailed things and analysis. And there were several different things. I can't share the software companies but I was allowed to use that software for reasons, and because of that, I would just sit there at lunch and just say, "Oh, okay. Well, what's this doing? Well, what's this over here looking?" And I was all over the state. I went up into, I explored Area 51. Now, I couldn't get on the base and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff around there where they used to do the nuclear testing and bombing and stuff, and you can see a lot of detailed stuff, and it's very cool. But I used it to look at stuff, because one of the things I always wanted to look at using it, which made it easier in my job, was to look at stuff that I knew what it was. Oh, it's a pickup truck. They were bombing over here. Well, now I can scale it and understand and look at my numbers and understand it. But yeah, mainly mine was I was looking for things about this big. So I needed something to be able to focus in and see something from the top that would be about that big. And looking for some very, very small things. And that's why I had it. And it wasn't secret or top spy stuff. And when people talked about Google Earth, Google Maps, since I didn't use any of that stuff, I thought it was very similar to what I was using. And then I realized, oh, these do not compare. And I realized how fortunate I was. And I have tons of stuff that I snipped and took pictures of all kinds of places. And then the other thing was going in and finding, there was one program that had a generational, every year or so, they would have, you could go back and capture some areas. And I would take several years of layered photographs. So I could look at them and see what changes happen over the time. And guess what? In the desert, over 30 or 40 years, most of the time, nothing changes. Okay, we're going to get back to this. I always want to know what Ken Worthy, he thought he found gold, but I don't think he found any gold. Do you think good lighter could be somewhere that has something that you could look through? It's just rock. Um, so I think people, yeah, if we were out sitting at the rendezvous talking, I would explain some of the software that I used far better. And there's people. No, the refrigerator didn't have beer. That is funny. Well, it was, from my perception, it looked like a hole, and it had a 12-pack of beer, what it looked like in it, and it looked like it was either Budweiser or Pabst Blue Ribbon, so I could see red and blue on it, and it turned out to be a rusty refrigerator. So, yeah, I was learning, but I have to find that sometime, and that would be a cool one, is the things that I found in the desert that turned out to be something different. They were always cool. It was always interesting, but how many things I found in the desert. Yeah, Arizona just stuff's there. The only time it's not there is when we bury it on purpose and cover it over really good. I wish you could take a poll and see where people believe the mine. We tried that one year at the rendezvous. We put a map up and told people they could pin it, and then people got really kind of weirded out by doing it, like people were watching. It's like, come on. Really? It's like, yeah, I remember sitting there once with Clay, and he was all kind of like, someone was asking him a question in his search area, and he was trying to be all, and it's like, everybody knows where it's at. Why don't you just talk about it? And, I'm gonna say this safely. 95% of you aren't going to go out there. Most people are not. They just don't have the means or ability to go there. So I don't know why guys get so worried and stirred up about certain specific areas. We could try it again this year. Yes, LiDAR. We'll definitely tell you. Google Earth's new photos are incredibly accurate now. Okay. Someone was just sending me more stuff, and God, it was down in southern Arizona. But it was LiDAR, and then they were using Google Earth, and they were using a bunch of stuff. And like I said, I just used one of the things I used, and then instantly was finding a fault crack. Would have been a much better area to explore in the area. I don't think they're going out there. And then I found this old mine, and you could tell where there had been tailings, but it's just in such an area that the tailings would always wash and run down. It has nothing to do with the superstitions. But I was like, okay, you're thinking something completely different, and you're searching for this, and I don't know what you think you're seeing, but you're not. But there's some really cool stuff here. If you want to go out there, there's cool stuff to find. I don't know if the person will ever do it. William Cooper filmed a UFO runway of Area 50. The peak he filmed from. So he filmed an unidentified object on the runway, so that wouldn't be flying. So it was a UO, right? Unidentified object, because UFO would be flying. And so, or else he filmed something take off from there that was unidentifiable. In fact, yeah, Google Earth is definitely updated. Okay, we're in the Google. Never seen it again. Okay. Anyways, Homeland Security areas are always, even Google Maps and Google Earth are. If we were sitting with a laptop, sitting around, I'd show you stuff and show you how things are, and they purposely do stuff, and you would be like, huh. So you're not, if there's something really cool, if the government knows about it, they do change its sensitive areas. It's not just Area 51. You ready for a hike before it gets 110? Yeah, I am. I actually have been. and I'm trying to get out and trying to get all these other things done to make sure I don't have anything. I don't. We got months. I mean, it's March, April, May. It's not going to be 110 probably till the end of June, July. So you got 3.5 months. But this year kind of sucked because I got out far less than I expected. You ready for, okay, there. LiDAR is going to be about. LiDAR is good for where things have changed. There's been erosion, there's sedimentary deposits, but even like ground penetrating radar, people always, there's all these different variations on it. And people read it differently. And I've seen people say, oh, this is something. Oh, that's something. Look, the ground's disturbed there. Well, we found the Ark of the Covenant. It's like, no, you haven't. You found some place where the ground's disturbed. It could be a sinkhole. It could be some sort of pocket or something from a million years ago. It's so weird that we tend to forget how old the Earth is in billions, and realize that even the dinosaur periods. What is it? Kind of one of the jokes to me is I'm trying to remember what is it. The Cretaceous period is when there was like what do they call them in Jurassic Park? The Velociraptors and the T-Rexes and stuff. I think it's in the Cretaceous period. The Jurassic period, I don't think those animals existed, but Cretaceous Park would have been a shitty movie name, so they named it Jurassic Park, so everybody becomes a little dumber because of a movie. But we forget Arizona was 400 or 500 million, 200, 300 million years ago, about 300 million years ago. I just need to do a video on this sometime. But Arizona was like a shallow sea and marsh and swamplands and dinosaurs. So it is beyond our comprehension of how old that is. But before the super volcanoes and all that, that's what it was. And then you have the period of time, then you have the asteroids and the things that happen. And then you look at Arizona, just pot-marked with super volcanoes, all the smaller volcanoes up in northern Arizona, meteorite crater. You can imagine this was a toxic wasteland at a certain point. Everything changed. I mean, this was jungles and stuff. But there's nothing left of that, outside of maybe some bones that are under the ground, or they've calcified or fossilized. There's very little evidence of it left. So, you get up on Superstition Mountain halfway and you find out, this could be interesting. Okay, we're going to pause. Well, I'm going to pause this and take this. Hello? Yes. I'm fine. All right, thank you very much. Okay, I won't be able to make it today. Oh, nobody will be back till Monday? No. I was just thinking I was going to be over that way Saturday, but no problem. I'll pick them up next week. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Bye. I would rarely do that, but that was the plaques and the trophy and everything for the Treasure Hunt of the Year awards. So I didn't want it to go to voicemail in case, because I'm thinking there's a problem, and they're calling me with a problem, and they're going to close by the time we're done. But no, there's no problem. Everything's ready and done. So I have to pick everything up. I've been hiking in the mountains here in North Carolina, and the downloadable maps I use, yeah, it's unbelievable how much stuff is. He gets 210. Oh, I always love it when people like to be funny. Funny. What I'm wondering is why people want to look for something that they can't keep. Well, I can keep it, because I know what I'm doing. Cretaceous. It's very cool stuff, just when you look at the history of Arizona and the different, Jurassic period supposedly were like the elves. Yeah, it's just weird, but come on, it was a better name better name to market. So, and a bunch of us know that, but the general public doesn't. And there's some kid gets a book on dinosaurs, and then he's like, "It doesn't make any sense." Well, that's because, yeah, yeah. So we're all agreeing on that. Jurassic Park is a much better movie franchise name. So yeah, we whapped through tonight too. Huh. We're gonna just kill a little more here before we go. But yeah, I spend plenty of time out there. I don't think there's this last couple of weeks. Well, was it? Hold it. I'm trying to think. Last week. This has been the last week and a half or so. Is the first week and a half, week or two since the beginning of the year. I haven't been in the mountains, so. And it was more or less, I was just so busy, and I didn't get tired of it. I just was kind of like a little burned out of going out constantly, and I wanted to take a bit of a breather. But I did want to get out and do some things, and then of course I pile on too much. So now I run into the problem like Larry and I were talking about doing something, and then I was telling him, "Oh, maybe I'll have you. You can go out with Trevor and your daughter and do that, and then I'll do this." And it just, I end up scheduling myself for too much, and then it becomes more difficult. And I know, well, no, there's a hike happening this weekend, and I can't make it because I wanted to go on that, and I would have went on that because that would have been a very interesting one with some very cool people. So, but I am constantly trying to get out, move some stuff out in the desert. Well, it definitely did way back in the day. Again, always nice your opinions, and I do spout some facts. See you next week, David. You'll see. So yeah, we'll get into next week. I'll find that knife. I gotta find that knife because people like that knife. It's a very cool knife. I like that knife. I bring it to the rendezvous. I wear it at the rendezvous. It's a very cool one. But and hey. You can't be David now. You have to be Sir Duck. See, now you've ruined everything. I don't even know you're there anymore because you got to be Sir Duck. I thought we need to get you a hat like it's got Daffy Duck on it and stuff. But yeah. So next week will be interesting, and then I'll probably get in the mountains a few times. Be some stuff. I'm just trying to think of the schedule because I know there's a bunch of stuff I'm supposed to be doing here shortly. Another fast. I mean, they do move by fast. Thank you, Wayne, for your great weekend. And, of course, play guitar. I've been playing guitar. See you soon, Dave. Oh, okay, that's everybody else. Oh, damn, I'll change it back. Yeah, it's like Sir Duck, man. It becomes a thing, and then you're not Sir Duck no more. It's like, It's funny how that works is you get something stupid like that, but that sticks, But Arizona Gold Hunter, we still call him Larry. So it's just, Sir Duck is just too funny. To me, it's just like, I close my eyes and I think Sir Duck and your name comes to me. Are there any sites or weird things or maps that you can tell us you've seen? Got to yet? Weird things on maps. Yeah, somebody needs to go up on Horse Mesa to that helicopter pad and that whole station with the solar panels and stuff out west of Bronco Butte. Haven't got up there. I wanted to really get up there. That's going to be a hoof and a half. But that is something else because I'm curious because there's conduit and electrical lines and all kinds of stuff coming off that. I think it's used for a repeater tower, but there's a lot more going on up there. And I remember talking to Tom Collingwood, and he had no clue it was even up there. And I was like, no. I said, there's a whole freaking... I've never seen any vehicles, anything, a helicopter, anything there. I even watched for the flights to see if anybody went in there and was landing at any time, which maybe they never really go there. But yeah, there's a helipad, and then there's 4 or 6 big solar panels, And then there's a bunch of outbuildings, and a bunch of stuff up there on Horse Mesa. And I was always like, what the hell is that stuff? And then I asked everybody about it, and nobody ever. So that's one for you. Probably going to be Homeland Security, and you'll probably go in jail, and we'll see you on TV. But, hey, is it worth the risk? I think you could get to that by the time they could send someone out. You could get off the mountain and hide, and they couldn't find you. I think you'd be fine. Now we're both going to be pulled into court and see some of you tomorrow. Yes, see some of us tomorrow. I think, Robert, you and I will be there. Trevor's not going. Chekhov Grid Knives. Okay. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Wayne. Have a great weekend. Yeah. And, I don't know if Bobby is Bunzel coming out. I didn't see Bunzel on here. Be good to see with you guys because, Trevor has something else going on. So I don't bowl. I don't play games. So I'm glad you guys are coming because otherwise, I wish you were coming to Dallas, but otherwise I would be out there just by myself watching people bowl and talking to Greg Davis. So there you go. Duck of Death. That is even better. The Duck of Death from Unforgiven. That actually even made Sir Duke. Sir Duke, the Duck of Death. Sir Duck of Death. Anyways, thank you, everybody. That was actually funny there, Joshua. Everybody have a great rest of the week. I don't know if it was good or bad, or sometimes it's kind of really fun in an ugly kind of way. So there we go. Lots of old roads. You can tell. I can see the roads. See, that's the thing. I know what I'm looking at because I know they were there when I was a kid. They were still established. They weren't used anymore. So you're talking right now close to 60 years or 50 years ago. So you take 50 years ago and I can look at it and say, yeah, there were all kinds of roads. And then there's roads that are trails now, but the Model A's, Model T's used to ride them all the way out to like Choya Tank. It's incredible. The inside of the mountains at one time had a lot of roads going through them. So there you go. Goodbye, wind. Helicopters can fly low. Yeah, but they usually, you catch them out there. They can't go too low in those canyons. They have to be somewhere where the transponders. They'll turn the transponders off. Trust me. So they turn the transponders off when they're going, and then when they go down, sometimes the transponders disappear. All right, we're gonna get off of here, and I will try to make sure I throw that knife in here and put it up somewhere as soon as I run into it here shortly. Everybody have a great weekend because we're getting out of here once again. He will be there, so I'll see Robert tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see Rick Dean, and hopefully we'll see Bobby Benzel, and a bunch of us will get together, and we'll talk about what foolishness we talked about today tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the Strawberry Festival tomorrow. Enjoy the Strawberry Festival. I'm not a particular fond of strawberries. My phone did that. Wait, okay. Well, anyways, everybody have a great weekend. We will catch you next week. Catch Chasing Legends on Monday. We'll be back on live next Friday, and every day catch your This Day in the Superstition Mountains.